Back here on Titans Talk. Back to the phones we go. Jalon, thanks for hanging on. You're going to lead us off here in this segment on Titans Talk. How you doing, Jalon?
Good.
Good. Go ahead. You're on the air.
All right. My name is Ron, and I'm a listener of Douglas and Marine. And I have a question of why they be grabbing them boys for the booty cakes when they be scoring them touchdowns.
All right. We're going to move on from that one. The best celebration, by the way, yesterday, Dennis Kelly. Offensive linemen score touchdowns. You need to be able to celebrate from that. And Dennis Kelly gets into the end zone, scores the first touchdown of his NFL career, and he's got it already. He's got all of his offensive lineman boys coming around. He scores a touchdown for the boys. He wants to include the boys, if you will. And he opens up the cooler and tosses out refreshments to each guy, and they celebrate as only the Titans offensive linemen have been known to do for quite some time now. Let's go to David. David, hello, you're on Titans Talk.
Is that me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Thanks for answering. A lady asked a question about the mood of Mariota, and that was why I called. And thanks for answering the question. You actually said all the things you said were exactly what I was going to say. Some people don't follow players, all season and all training camp, sometimes they just get a 10 minutes glimpse of someone, and make an impression of what that person is trying to portray. What you said about Mariota is exactly it. Mariota is the first person to congratulate the team or a player, for doing well on a play or doing good things on the field. So what that lady was trying to say is she doesn't know Mariota well, and she hasn't been following Mariota and the team, to know that, Mariota is the first person to congratulate the team, the players, when they do something good on the field. It's just the character he is. There is no other person in the team that has the same character as Mariota. No other person. Or even in the NFL, I haven't seen any other player that has the same character as Mariota.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point you bring up, David. And again, I didn't see the video that she's particularly talking about in the third quarter. I wasn't in a position to see a TV or what it was broadcasting. But I can tell you that I'm around this team multiple days a week and over at the team facility and talk to coaches and talk to Tannehill and I've talked to Mariota and other guys in that room. And everybody has said, for both guys, frankly, that when it was Mariota and Tannehill was in the background, that Tannehill was the model teammate. And he was there and helping Mariota, trying to make him be the best quarterback that he could be for the team. And then when Tannehill took over, it just flipped. Tannehill became the leader that they all rallied around, and Mariota went into the background to become the big cheerleader, to be the guy in the meeting room that's pointing out things that needs to be said, to be the guy that's helping Tannehill, gives him an ear and eyes on the sideline, but he's also one of the biggest cheerleaders for the team, and that's what I've seen. And so that doesn't mean that I might have missed something yesterday. It's possible, but I also know for a fact I watched him sprint out to Tannehill and yuck it up with him after the first touchdown of the game. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me that later in the game he would be sulking for some reason. So we'll see. I don't think that's the case with Mariota. For whatever reason, it didn't work out here on the field, but I can guarantee you, whenever he leaves, it is going to be very difficult to find a single person in the organization or around this city that has a bad word to say about Marcus Mariota as an individual. Go to line 5. Hey, Danny, how you doing? You're on Titans Talk.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
I want to make a comment about the game. I enjoyed it. I think the Titans are doing great, and I enjoy watching them play. I know when Tannehill made that first touchdown. I'm just glad he didn't get hurt. You know, it'd been bad if he got hurt or something like that. And I think the way, you know, we've got Derrick Henry, we've got some good running backs. If he could just, you know, be careful and maybe fall short a little bit. We've got good running backs and get on in there and get 6 points and not really take a chance on getting hurt. I know he's a real aggressive athletics guy, and I understand him. But I just wanted to be careful, you know, because if he gets hurt, it will really make a big difference in our team, I think. And I like the way Mariota played, too, and I don't want to forget him. He's a good football player. But if we keep our penalties down for our next game, I think we've got a chance to beat the Colts. I think if we get their penalties, keep them down, I think the way we're playing, we've got a good chance to beat them.
Yeah.
So I guess that's all I got to say.
Danny, thank you. I think you're right. I think penalties and negative plays have been the bugaboo for the Titans offense all season long. And early in the season, they had too many of both. They were getting caught behind the line, and they were committing penalties. And when that happens, all of a sudden you find yourself in 3rd and 15, 2nd and long, 3rd and long. It's very difficult to stay on the field, and that's a big problem for the Titans is they haven't extended drives. They haven't run enough plays over the course of the season. Yesterday, they eliminated that stuff, and the offense, I think, finally is starting to show us what it can actually be. That's what you hope carries over when they go to Indianapolis. Let's go to line 4. Hello, Mel.
Yesterday, they eliminated that stuff.
Hey, Mel, you're on the air.
Okay. Am I on the air now?
Yeah, you're on the air right now.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for taking my call. I would just like to make a comment. I think the Titans in the 3rd quarter yesterday looked like a championship team. Everything was clicking. But I think we get overly excited around here about the Titans when they do well, and that's one of the problems. If that had been Saban or that had been Belichick, they would have pointed out that in the 4th quarter they were outscored 17-7, if I'm not mistaken. And so, you know, we tend to praise the Titans when we do well, and then the next week they'll come along and disappoint us. And they definitely have some, I mean, they showed championship caliber in 1 quarter is what I saw, not the entire game. I think Derrick Henry brings a championship attitude with him from Alabama. I think that Vrabel has a championship attitude for playing with the Patriots. But I do think that we can overpraise them, and they get, and for some reason or the other, they'll disappoint us in the following week, and I think we have to kind of watch that. I didn't see a championship team throughout 4 quarters, and that's my comment.
All right, Mel, I will say one thing about your comment with the 4th quarter. I think, one, the Jaguars scored one of those touchdowns right before the end of the 3rd quarter, but they did outscore them 17-7 down the stretch. Here's the thing about that, though, is when you're up 35-3 in a game, the game fundamentally changes. You play a different type of defense because the only way you lose is if you give up big plays. So you keep it in front of you, which means they're going to move the ball, and eventually they might score points. But it's going to take them more time, and time is your friend at that point. So the Titans' defense yesterday looked like a championship defense until they went to a prevent defense. And then it was prevent massive disaster, but maybe you give up a few points in that time. That's a big part of what happened. The Titans' offense, I think, established their game plan in the first half. I think in the second half they executed their game plan flawlessly. And the special teams were good yesterday. Special teams have not always been good for this team throughout the season, particularly in the kicking game. So that's got to be better. It's got to improve. I do think you make an excellent point, though, about this team coming off of big wins. For years now, and it doesn't matter whether it's Mike Vrabel the last year and a half, or Mike Mularkey, or Mike Munchak, or Jeff Fisher, frankly, at the end. This team has constantly shown the ability to rise up and play a great game against just about anybody, but has also had the ability to come back the next week and lay an egg. And that's what the Titans have to absolutely avoid here because they have no margin for error. They started the season 2-4, which essentially makes just about every game after that critical to your chances to getting back into the playoff race. They've put themselves in position now by winning 4 of 5. There have been very few valleys here over the last month of the season since the quarterback change and the way this team is playing. But it's got to stay that way. Yesterday was a great game. It's probably the best game they've played all season long, start to finish in 3 phases. But you got to go do that on the road this week against Indianapolis. And if you do that, you got to do it the next week in Oakland and the next week after that against the Texans in what will be a huge game. That is the challenge for this team. Maybe the biggest thing standing between them and going good to great is doing it week in and week out. They've shown the ability to do it for 1 performance or 2 performances. They haven't been able to, historically in recent years, stack them together to reach their ultimate goals. They have that opportunity in front of them now, and we'll find out in the final 5 weeks of the season whether they can actually do it. Let's go to Don. Don, how are you?
Hello.
Yeah, Don, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like to make a comment. This was a great show, man. I think they played a pretty good game yesterday. Tannehill looked like a great quarterback, man. But I still seeing some weaknesses. That offensive line is going to have to protect him a little bit more. That defensive secondary, they gave up points at the end if they make it to the playoffs. I think that they need to probably incorporate the other quarterback into that offense. You know, when you have two good quarterbacks in there, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's almost like a double threat to another team. So I think they should incorporate Mariota in there this season. For the rest of this season, you know what I'm saying? It hasn't been there on some of those offensive plays. And those teams are probably going to be looking like, hey, you got 2 quarterbacks, and we don't know what to do in the game at the same time. And that'll throw some stuff off, you know what I'm saying, to have people on their heels be like, hey, this is a team that's just wild. But that defensive secondary, I think they need to tighten it up. I think that's pretty much the weakness that the other teams are going to be focusing on. And that's pretty much all I got to say.
All right, Don, I think the secondary has been pretty good for the most part this season. Now, it's a little beat up at the moment because Malcolm Butler's out for the season. They lost LaShawn Sims yesterday. We'll see if he's able to come back, how quickly that will happen. So you had Adoree Jackson, Logan Ryan playing a ton of snaps yesterday. Obviously, Kevin Byard, Kenny Vaccaro, those guys are going to be on the field a lot. But those guys are really good. I think you feel very comfortable with all those guys on the field. Adoree Jackson played maybe his best game as a cornerback in the National Football League yesterday against the Jaguars. He was phenomenal in that game yesterday. Logan Ryan has arguably been the MVP of the defense this year. Kevin Byard's an all-pro at safety. Kenny Vaccaro has been really good since coming here. So I think you feel good about that. If you have a concern about the secondary, I think it's one that the depth may be showing a bit now because of some injuries. And then the other part is not on them. It's the lack of a pass rush. It's if you give some of the better quarterbacks in the NFL all day to throw, it doesn't matter how good your coverage is. At some point, somebody's going to come open. And so that's the big thing I look at for the Titans right now is can they get a little bit more of a pass rush down the stretch of the season, either from personnel, Cam Wake, Harold Landry, those guys, or from scheme with Dean Pease and blitzing, because that is the biggest thing to me that will help out that back end against passing attacks. Let's try to sneak one more in here before break. Let's go to Jack. Jack, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. What about you?
Good. Thanks for the call. Go ahead, Jack. You're on the air. Hey, Jack, you with me? Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're on the air, Jack. Go ahead.
I was just wondering what they're going to do with Mariota. I think we need to get rid of him and work on our defense.
Well, I think they are going to let him go at the end of the season. They won't be getting rid of him, but his contract will be up. And I think we've all seen it. It's over for Mariota here because it just didn't work ultimately. And I think at this point, Marcus probably wants a fresh start someplace else. And the Titans are going to go in a different direction. I think that direction may very well be Ryan Tannehill based off of what we've seen over the last 5 weeks. But they're going to have to move on a quarterback, and it's going to be a different situation. They're going to build moving forward with a new idea about the quarterback position. And whether that is Tannehill, whether that's a free agent, whether that's going into the draft, they're going to have to make that decision. But it's not going to be Marcus Mariota. All right, we got to take a break. Phone line still open, 737-7767. Back with more of your calls and more after this. This is Titans Talk on News Channel 5+.